What happens when a well-meaning neighbor crosses the line from protector to persecutor? How well do we really know our neighbors? It was a peaceful afternoon in Cedarwood Heights, a quiet suburban neighborhood where the sound of chirping birds and children playing usually ruled the day. At the heart of it all was Karen Thompson, a self-appointed guardian of the community. Known for her sharp voice and sharper opinions, Karen prided herself on keeping Cedarwood safe, even if that meant making a scene for what others would consider trivial matters. On this particular day, Karen was perched on her front porch, sipping her sweet tea and scrolling through neighborhood gossip on her phone, when she noticed Serena James walking down the street. Serena, a black woman in her early 30s, had moved into the neighborhood a year ago. Quiet and kind, Serena wasn't one to make waves, but Karen had always been suspicious of her. But today, something new caught Karen's attention. Serena was holding a little white toddler, a boy with light brown hair and big blue eyes, who was clutching her neck tightly. To Karen, this didn't add up. How could this black woman be with this white child? Her mind jumped to the worst possible conclusion. Karen's pulse quickened as she watched Serena crouch down to pick up a toy the child had dropped. This isn't right, Karen muttered to herself. She fumbled with her phone, dialing 911. 911, what's your emergency? Yes, I need officers here immediately. There's a suspicious black woman with a white child. I think she's kidnapped him. Karen hissed into the phone, her voice brimming with urgency. The operator, though professional, couldn't help but sigh. This wasn't the first time Karen had made a dubious call. Ma'am, can you confirm the child appears to be in danger? Well, no, Karen admitted, peering through her sunglasses at Serena, who was now gently wiping the boy's face with a tissue. But it just doesn't look right. They don't match. Something is wrong? Despite the operator's attempt to de-escalate, Karen insisted. Within minutes, the quiet street was disrupted by the blaring of sirens. 2 police cars pulled up, lights flashing. Serena had just buckled Tyler into his stroller when she heard the commotion. Turning around, she saw Karen standing on the sidewalk, pointing furiously at her, and 2 police officers exiting their vehicles. Ma'am, one officer said, approaching Serena cautiously. We received a call about a possible abduction. Is this your child? Serena blinked in shock, her heart racing. Excuse me? This is my son Tyler. Karen stormed forward, cutting Serena off. Don't listen to her. Look at him and look at her. She obviously kidnapped that child. Serena's mouth fell open. Are you serious right now? Tyler is my son. I adopted him 2 years ago. The officer held up a hand to stop the argument. Ma'am, he said to Serena, do you have any identification or proof of custody? Please, if you enjoy tales like this, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more captivating stories. Hope you've done. Okay, let's continue. By now, neighbors were stepping out of their houses, murmuring amongst themselves. Serena, her hands trembling, pulled out her phone and showed the officer pictures. Her adoption papers, photos of her and Tyler on his first birthday, and even a short video of them singing Happy Birthday together. Karen, however, was not convinced. Anyone can fake that stuff these days. This woman is lying. She's probably part of some child trafficking ring, she spat. Officer Daniels, who had dealt with Karen's antics before, sighed deeply. Ma'am, calm down. Everything checks out here. He turned to Serena. I'm so sorry about this, Ms. James. But Karen wasn't done. What do you mean, checks out? Are you just going to let her walk away with that child? Do your job, she yelled. Daniels turned back to Karen, his patience wearing thin. Ma'am, we are doing our job. And right now, it seems the only person causing a disturbance is you. If you continue, I'll have no choice but to issue you a citation for wasting police resources. By now, Serena had had enough. Tears stung her eyes as she tried to steady her voice. Do you have any idea what it's like to go through this over and over? Every time I take my son to the park, the grocery store, even the doctor, people assume I kidnapped him because we don't look alike. I've done nothing wrong, and yet I have to explain myself constantly. It's exhausting. Her words hung in the air, silencing even the nosiest of neighbors. Karen shifted uncomfortably, but her indignation was quickly fading under the weight of the truth. Tyler, sensing his mom's distress, began to whimper. Serena picked him up and held him close, whispering softly to calm him. The sight of her soothing her child spoke louder than any words could. Realizing she had lost, Karen turned and stormed back to her house, muttering under her breath. The gathered neighbors clapped and cheered as Serena walked back to her home, Tyler safe in her arms. But the story didn't end there. The incident sparked a conversation in the neighborhood about biases and assumptions. Over the next few days, several neighbors reached out to Serena to offer their support. Some even apologized for not stepping in sooner. As for Karen, she became something of a pariah in Cedarwood Heights. While she continued her neighborhood watch duties, she found herself excluded from block parties and ignored at the local cafe. The incident became a turning point for Cedarwood Heights. It wasn't just a reminder to mind one's business. It was a wake-up call to confront prejudice and educate themselves about the diversity in their community. Days after the incident, Karen found herself the talk of the neighborhood, but not in the way she was used to. Normally, her name came up in conversations about her active involvement in Cedarwood Heights. But now she was a symbol of everything wrong with her meddling ways. Her social media posts, once filled with updates about protecting the neighborhood, were flooded with comments from angry locals calling her out. "Mind your business, Karen," one read. "Do better," another said. Karen, too proud to admit fault, tried to shift the blame. She posted, "I was just trying to protect an innocent child. Excuse me for caring too much." The post only added fuel to the fire. Meanwhile, Serena remained quiet about the ordeal. She focused on her job as a teacher and on Tyler, doing her best to shield him from any negativity. But the community's outpouring of support didn't go unnoticed. Neighbors began dropping off thoughtful notes and little gifts for Tyler. Some even offered to babysit or help out whenever Serena needed it. But Serena couldn't shake the lingering frustration. Karen's half-hearted apology and lack of accountability still gnawed at her. One afternoon, about a week after the incident, Karen's doorbell rang. When she opened the door, she found Officer Daniels standing on her porch. "Officer Daniels," Karen said, surprised. "What brings you here?" He crossed his arms and gave her a hard look. "Karen, I wanted to follow up. You know, after what happened with Serena." Karen frowned, defensive. "I already apologized." Daniels shook his head. "No, Karen. You didn't. You mumbled something that wasn't even close to an apology. Let me be real with you. This kind of behavior isn't just a mistake. It's harmful. And it's not the first time you've called the police for something that turned out to be nothing." Karen's cheeks turned red. "I was just trying to help." "You weren't helping anyone," Daniels said firmly. "You were acting on your biases. If you keep this up, it's going to cost you more than just your reputation. You could face charges for filing false reports." Karen blinked, stunned. "Charges?" "Yes, Karen. Charges. Think about that the next time you pick up the phone. Now, I suggest you really think about how you can make things right." Karen closed the door, shaken. She spent the next day pacing her house, replaying Officer Daniels' words in her mind. For the first time, she began to question her actions. Had she really been protecting the neighborhood, or had she just been acting out of ignorance and prejudice? Finally, she decided to take action. Swallowing her pride, Karen wrote a heartfelt letter to Serena. The letter read, "Dear Serena, I want to sincerely apologize for my actions. What I did was wrong, and I now understand how much harm I caused you and your son. I judged you unfairly, and I acted out of ignorance instead of compassion. I'm truly sorry for putting you through that experience. I don't expect forgiveness, but I want you to know I'm committed to doing better. I've signed up for a local diversity workshop to educate myself, and I will do everything I can to make amends." Karen hesitated before dropping the letter in Serena's mailbox, unsure if it would be enough. When Serena found the letter, she was skeptical at first. But as she read through Karen's words, she felt a small flicker of hope. People like Karen didn't often admit their mistakes. This didn't erase the pain Serena had felt, but it was a start. That weekend, Serena decided to invite Karen to a neighborhood barbecue she was hosting. It wasn't an olive branch exactly, it was more of an opportunity to show Karen that she and Tyler were just like any other family in Cedarwood Heights. When Karen arrived, she was visibly nervous. She brought a plate of cookies, which she awkwardly handed to Serena. "Thank you for inviting me," Karen said quietly. Serena nodded. "Thank you for the letter. It meant a lot." The barbecue turned out to be a turning point for both women. Karen spent the afternoon listening to Serena and other neighbors share their stories, learning about the diverse experiences that shaped their lives. She even got to spend some time with Tyler, who showed her his favorite toy car and made her laugh with his silly faces. Over the following months, Karen became less of a neighborhood watchdog and more of a genuine neighbor. She attended workshops on implicit bias, joined community events, and worked to rebuild trust with those she had wronged. As for Serena, she remained cautious but appreciated the change she saw in Karen. While their relationship would never be perfect, it became a symbol of what could happen when people chose to confront their biases and grow. Months later, during a neighborhood meeting, Karen stood up and addressed the group. "I want to say something," she began, her voice trembling slightly. "I've made a lot of mistakes and I've judged people unfairly. But I've learned that being part of a community means more than just protecting it. It means listening, understanding, and supporting one another. I'm still learning, but I promise to do better. Please, if you enjoy tales like this, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more captivating stories."